Well, hello there, Dippers, and welcome back to episode 70 of the Knuckle Sammich podcast, the official MMA podcast of Sauce on the Side. As always, Dippers, I'm your host, Ray, joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Thomas R. Shackelford.
I know we're in the rare couple weeks of very, very dry MMA, but it's about to heat up.
Yes, it is. We are in basically the dog days of summer in baseball and in the UFC. Hopefully, we can get this turned around soon. Dippers, we are going to talk about the Conor McGregor press conference, give you some hypothetical fights against like characters of either video games, movies, just hypothetical characters versus MMA fighters in today or MMA fighters of the past that we would really like to see. And we are going to talk about the ESPN Plus, ESPN 15 card that we have this weekend. Not a ton of notable fights, but usually whenever that comes around, there are usually some diamonds in the rough, so hopefully we get some of those. And with latency, producer, you know what to do.
Welcome to the Knuckle Sammich podcast with Thomas R. Shackelford, a Sauce on the Side production.
All right, Mr. Shackelford. So, our man, Conor McGregor, talked about it just a little bit ago. He did have a press conference with ESPN this last week with Ariel Helwani. What exactly, just hit the high notes for all the listeners. Let them know what was said in Conor McGregor's press conference if they didn't get a chance to watch the whole entire thing.
It came out of nowhere. I was at work and Ariel Helwani tweeted out, "Hey, just talk to Conor McGregor. Here's a 2-minute clip, the videos coming over the next few days." I'm not sure if that got a ton of feedback or what. I'm sure it did because within, seemed like a half hour, he was like, "Hey, ESPN 2, it's coming on," the whole entire interview. And basically, Ariel asked him about a ton of stuff. Asked him about the video out where he punches a dude, punches the old man in the bar, about him breaking that cell phone. Apparently this all happened like 5 or 6 months ago. I don't know why he keeps getting leaked now type thing. Like he's already dealt with it. It's already all been dealt with, but it's all coming out now. It did seem a little bit like it was damage control, but overall he just looked like he was kind of grateful to be talking to Ariel about MMA in general. He was talking about how happy he was for Diaz and those guys. Such a great fight. And how Diaz is parlaying that into CBD and dispensary stuff. He seemed really grateful to all those guys. He talked about fights, different fighters, and how the game is, and guys he's watching and having fun. And he said it. They asked him, "Will you fight in 2019?" And he said he's coming back from that was another thing he talked about. He actually had hand surgery. I don't know. He was talking kind of strange. Like he talked a little off and on about how his foot was like swole up real big and he couldn't train for several weeks before the Khabib fight. But after that, he was kind of talking. I guess he had a fight in the gym. Like there were spectators there. He made it sound like the Kavanaugh and those guys are simulating like real fights during the training camp. And he said he got his hand broken one of those. He knocked the guy down, and it came down with what he said was an emotional left hand and broke his hand. He ended up having to have surgery. So, we thought that he wasn't taking fights for different reasons, but it turns out he had hand surgery, and he's just now cleared. He did say that he would love to be back, and if they can get the deal done, he would love to be back in December by the end of the year. So
Wow. That's kind of wild. I thought that the timing of the press conference was really weird, though.
I think it came out from that. I'm sure you saw the video.
The video of him smoking the dude.
I mean, that's been everywhere.
Yeah.
So I think, he's pretty much laid low. And then he'll pop in here and there with some bigger fights. But I really think maybe that one I think it got under his skin. And he took, Ariel asked him what happened. He said, "Look, it doesn't matter what happened. That was my fault. Like, I should not have done that." It wasn't like he was like passing the blame. But I think when that video came out and everybody's going nuts, he kind of just had to come out and speak about it.
Yeah, I thought it was very weird though. Hopefully, this gets things in the right direction, man.
I hope so. I just want to see him fight anybody.
Yes, anybody. So, was there any hint on whether or not or who he might fight?
He said that he said they were pretty close to a deal a couple months ago before his hand got broken. The fight was going to be Justin Gaethje, which you gotta. Again, something I've always credited him for, he's never shied away from tough opponents.
No.
Anybody they've given him, he's taken. I would love that fight. He mentioned, of course, he said he wanted to get his title back, but then he mentioned basically everybody in the top in the 55-pound division. He did kind of mention maybe Jose would be a fight, maybe Frankie Edgar was in there. You know, he was a guy that he was looking at. Holloway. He basically named all the top 3 guys from 145 all the way up to 170, which in his fashion, that's just his fashion, you know.
Right.
You know, I think that stylistic matchup against Khabib, I still think that's a fight he could win, but very much so. But stylistically, when you look at some of those other matchups, I almost think there's bigger selling ones. I mean, I think that trilogy fight with Diaz would be
especially now.
Especially now, yeah. He also mentioned Masvidal because Dana came out and said like, well, I think Masvidal's too big for McGregor. He said right off, he's like, I don't know what he's talking about, too big for me. He's like, I'll have no problems with it. So, you know, the Diaz, the Masvidal, the Cowboy, Gaethje, those fights all would be just crazy fight. And then you got Ferguson there, just kind of like hanging out, kind of waiting to see what's going on. All those guys, man. Just anybody. They could pull them against the worst guy on their roster, and it's gonna sell out.
No, I absolutely agree. I think the Gaethje fight would be a smart one to make after the Cowboy thing because Gaethje, we know what he does. But the people that just watch, you know, a few pay-per-view cards a year, pay attention to the Conor McGregors, the big names like that, might not necessarily know who Justin Gaethje is. Yeah. You know, just because it seems like he hasn't had that one fight against a basically in-home name that everybody knows, not even MMA community. He wins this fight against Cowboy Cerrone, he has that.
I was going to say, come October, that Cowboy fight, that's going to be a big fight.
Yeah, I really think he should just fight the winner of that fight. And that would be awesome.
I would love that. You know, I feel like Tony's got to get the winner of Khabib and Poirier at this point. I mean, he's fought everyone but Conor. Yeah, I would love that. Tony get the title fight, kind of make it right. You know, Conor hasn't fought in a while. But then Conor versus that Gaethje Cowboy, that'd be I don't even have a word for that. That'd be a monster fight.
Yeah, that would be awesome. So we talked earlier about some hypothetical fights. So I texted you earlier and said basically, because we don't have any fights to break down, we should construct a fight card with 5 fights, main card, and go through. We'll obviously have a main event. We'll have a co-main. I have a perfect co-main. I'm going to have you give us 3. I'm going to take 2. So, Mr. Shackelford, for our hypothetical fight night, who is our opening fight?
I am going Tyler Durden versus Diego Sanchez.
Oh my God!
Can you imagine a crazier build-up?
That was opening fight.
That's the opening fight because it's not going to be a particularly good fight. I mean, neither guy's at the top of their game physically, but crazy. They're the top of the heap.
Dude,
you know,
that is good.
You know, prime vintage Fight Club Tyler Durden versus now anytime Diego Sanchez, you're going to get some. That would be the wackiest build up. It would remind me of one of the very first countdown shows they did was BJ Penn versus George St. Pierre. It's one of the best ones they ever did too. Probably the best one. It was the very first one. BJ Penn's talking about fighting to the death. He was like, I'm fighting GSP to the death. He's like, I will die before I lose. And he's like doing all this crazy stuff with the Marinovich brothers. That would be this promo. Like,
yes.
It would be
Death Before Dishonor.
Oh, it would be the most amazing. It would be the most amazing, scary build-up I've ever seen. But I think it would be an incredible card opener.
Yes, it would be a great opener. I mean, you'd have Tyler Durden walking in smoking a cigarette and Diego Sanchez trying to harness the power of the lightning. I don't think you can get 2 crazier guys in the ring at the same time. So my first fight that I picked. This would be second fight of the night. I realized how many people are excited for the Damian Maya versus Ben Askren fight, kind of wrestling versus jiu-jitsu. So I went off of that. I picked Loden Swain from Vision Quest versus Hoist Gracie.
That'd be a good one.
Him running out to Lunatic Fringe, doing jump ropes while Hoist Gracie's walking out.
Yeah, that would be the best stare contest ever. Can you imagine? So if anybody's never seen Vision Quest, when he's walking up those bleachers with that log on his back, he just doesn't even break his workout. He's just like, gonna make the weight. Hope you do. And just like walks off. That was like the Hoist 1,000-yard stare right there.
Yeah. So I think that would be kind of one to bring us back to reality.
Yeah.
After Diego and Tyler Durden. What's the next fight you got for us?
This one stems off of a cowboy fight. Remember when Cowboy fought Brazilian Cowboy?
Oh yeah.
And then it was like King of the Cowboy.
Oh yeah. Obviously, the real cowboy won.
The real cowboy won, and I think even Oliveira gave him his hat, to symbolize you're the real cowboy. There's only one other cowboy I think can vie for that title. That's Walker Texas Ranger. I would love to see Walker Texas Ranger versus Cowboy for King of the Cowboy.
Dude, Prime Walker.
Prime Walker. Maybe even let them fight in their blue jeans and boots. There's no reason to wear fight gear.
No, absolutely not. Well, I don't know if Walker can actually fight in anything other than blue jeans.
I don't know that I've ever seen his hat knocked off either. So
no,
that would be the fight. Whoever gets hit so hard the hat gets knocked off loses the fight.
Who's his buddy? The
I don't remember.
Man, Walker Texas Ranger.
I watched that a ton with my grandparents when I was a kid too. I should know but maybe Donnie or something.
No, it wasn't Donnie. I just picture the guy with the mustache and the other guy that worked with him.
The chubby white guy.
Yeah,
isn't he the diabetes guy now?
I'm pretty sure he is, dude. And you could run that commercial in the middle of the fights.
Oh, that would be perfect.
Yes.
That would be perfect.
So good promo there. Oh man, dude, we need to book these fights because we're already selling commercials for these.
I laugh so hard. James Trevette is who he played.
Trevette.
Yeah, Trevette. And the other dude was C.D. Parker.
CD. That guy looked like a CD. Okay, so my next fight, I think this one will be back to where we were with the very first fight. A little bit of fireworks. I have Brian Barberena fighting Dalton. Patrick Swayze from Roadhouse.
Oh God, that would be insane. Because Dalton feels no pain. I mean, he feels no pain. Barberena feels no pain. I got kind of a funny thing about Roadhouse. If I see it on television, I watch it. No matter what.
Did you really have to explain that?
Well, I feel like most people
Everybody
be like,
does.
how many times have you seen Roadhouse? And I'm like, well, probably 4,000 times.
Yeah.
I just can't not watch it. It's on Netflix right now, and I have thumbed by it, and I thought, no. You can't start it, because once you start it, you got to finish it,
We're going to make a new rule. Every time you thumb past it, you have to stop and watch it.
That would be, as much as I'm on Netflix, that would probably ruin my life.
Yeah.
It'd be worse than like a porn addiction. It'd be, what are you doing, man? Man, I'm sorry, Swayze's on.
True Life with Thomas R. Shackelford. I'm addicted to Roadhouse.
Oh. Have you ever heard any of those funny Bill Murray stories?
No, I don't think
You've
so.
never heard any? So Bill Murray's kind of legendary for being this.
He just popped up places and just shows
yeah,
up. Yeah, I've heard those.
Okay, there's a whole Netflix.
You were talking about a porn addiction and then Bill Murray.
No,
I'm like, wait a second. Where are we
There's no
going?
Bill Murray nude in this, but he's famous for just popping up. Like he'll be in a bar and like one of them was. It didn't matter what people ordered. He just poured like a tequila on the rocks. Like they'd be like, "Give me a Schlitz," and then he'd give him a tequila. Or there's other like house parties where the dude like invited this band from South by Southwest down in Austin. These bands to come play at his house party, and then the band pulls up. He goes out there to help load equipment, and Bill Murray's like carrying in a drum and stuff. But one of the stories is the director of that movie Roadhouse is married to the lead actress, and he said for years, for a 20-year span, every time. He said it'd be sometimes like 2 a.m., 4 a.m., just any time of the night, his phone would ring, he'd answer it, and it'd be Bill Murray, and he'd say, "Hey, Swayze's nailing your wife right now." doesn't look like she's putting up too much of a fight.
Bill Murray did that?
Yes, because he's like best friends with the director. So
That's
so
hilarious.
imagine that you know Leighton's dating a famous woman that he met somewhere. He's dating her. Every time you see her on TV getting nailed by Swayze, you call him, no matter what time, day, place, where you are.
3 a.m. in the morning.
Swayze's nailing your wife. That movie, I'm so glad you said that. I completely forgot about that one, but that's one of my favorite movies.
Dude, as soon as I texted you that, I'm like, all right, I hope he doesn't steal Roadhouse from me. I'm like, Dalton's my man.
Dalton, no, I completely forgot about that one. That was a great one.
So, okay, main event. Co-main brought it. What do you got?
I have Apollo Creed versus Conor McGregor.
I love that.
I think the build up to that would rival it would rival Creed coming out against Drago. You know, Apollo Creed's always talking. They kind of cast that character
That
off
would be
of
great.
Of an 80s Muhammad Ali. So all those kind of tough guy, Carl Weathers, goofy man quotes versus the McGregor quotes. It would be the most amazing build-up of all time.
Yeah, it would be the most quotable press conference of all time.
Maybe they could do get Sinead O'Connor singing Foggy Dew again, and then maybe have, who sang I'm a Real American?
I'm a real American.
Yeah, we gotta have that song.
I just knew it. Didn't Hulk Hogan come out?
Yeah,
That's what I thought. I've just known it as the Hulk Hogan
So
song.
Hulk Hogan's up there, fake guitaring I'm a Real American, as Apollo comes out, just dancing. With all the go-go dancers and all the craziness, and then McGregor walking out to Foggy Dew with Sinead O'Connor again. That would be the most insane main event of all time.
That would be awesome. I'm glad you actually brought that one. I really thought you were going to go with a Rocky. I really thought you were going to bring it up. But
Rocky,
you brought a little bit of Rocky with
a little
Paulo.
bit of Rocky. Rocky don't talk. Rocky's the Khabib. He's just like, I'm gonna have a good fight and try not to break my nose. And that would be his whole build-up.
Yeah, I agree. So let's go ahead and get to ESPN Plus 15. That was fun. I like that.
That was good.
Any other time that we don't have any fights to really talk about, we're going right back to the well.
Yeah.
But ESPN Plus, ESPN 15, we have a female title shot here for Weili Zhang. She opens as a plus 140 dog to Jessica Andrade, a minus 170 favorite. Mr. Shackelford, I haven't heard it in a while, but what's the pick?
Well, Andrade would be the favorite for a reason. I mean, she just smashed Rose Namajunas. I think her only loss in the UFC was a tough fight against Joanna, which basically she was a punching bag. She moved forward the whole time, and Joanna just beat the brakes off of her for like 5 rounds. She is the favorite for a reason, but what was the odds again? How big of a dog?
She is a plus 140 dog to a minus 170
So
favorite. So you only have to bet 170 on Andrade if you like that.
What
win
if,
100.
what if you bet 100 on Zhang?
140.
So 100. That's not as big as odds I thought. She's a tough.
I
fighter.
thought she would be a huge dog.
I did too, because not a lot of people know her. She's 19-1. She only lost her very first fight. She beat Tisha Torres pretty handily in her last fight. I think she's had 2 other fights in the UFC. She's a top tier fighter, and she's one of those all around fighters. She's got really hard punches. I think the biggest difference between these two is just the sheer power of Andrade, but I do like Weili Zhang. This is going to be a very good fight.
This surprises me.
Well, I'll say this: I like Weili Zhang in this position. It's over in her neck of the woods. She's kind of an unknown. Not a ton of footage on her, even though she's had the 19 fights. She's super well rounded. She hits very, very hard. Cardio's not an issue. I could see her coming out there and being a touch quicker than Andrade and being just as strong as her. So, I'm going to pull for Zhang. I'm going to say Zhang gets the dog win. Again, Andrade is the favorite for a reason. She's beat better caliber of people, but really, to me, she is still this. I don't want to say one-dimensional, but she's a old school Mike Tyson. She's square stance, walking forward, trying to take your head off and mush you against the fence and just smash you. Whereas Zhang's going to has that ability but she's also very, very quick. So I'm going to go Zhang. What the heck?
I like it. I like it.
It's not anything that you're going to bet the house on, but if you got an extra $10-15 to toss on her, it is not a horrible dog pick.
I like it. I like it. I'm actually very surprised, but hey, we'll take it. Next up, we have a fight. It was the only other fight that you really wanted to discuss this weekend. It's Elizu Zaleski opening as a minus 300 favorite to Li Jingliang, who is a plus 230 dog. I think I actually might have nailed both those names. I really thought I was going to mess it up. You always call him Li Jingling. I like that one better.
Jingle
Jang?
Yeah.
So who do you like in that fight?
I love Jingle Jang. Super tough dude. He's probably one of my favorite like Asian fighters. When you think about these Asian fighters that come over, a lot of times that east to west tends to really wipe those people out. But
it's like a 12-hour time difference or something.
It's huge. For some reason, a lot of the people say that from going west to east isn't as tough. Like the Americans going over there isn't as hard on the Japanese or Chinese or other Asian fighters coming over here. I don't know why. It's one of those kooky things that it could just be bullcrap. It just could be people saying that and makes it true. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like placebo. But I like Jingle Jang. Super tough guy. I think he was a super strong judo guy. His biggest problem is he just tends to get into dog fights on purpose. He's just like, hey, I'm going to stand here and throw punches at you until one of us falls. So if he can move in and out and mix it up pretty well, he's going to be good here. This Dos Santos, again, he's got like 5 names. It's like Elizu Zaleski Dos Santos. Super tough dude, well-rounded Muay Thai. That fight, for me, is probably going to be fight of the night on the card. It should be wild.
I really like it. So, do you have any other fights on this card that you're looking forward to?
Just some names that jumped out at me. That Mike Grundy, he's from Team Cowbon, which is the same team that had Terry Edom and now Darren Till's out of. I think he was an English Olympic wrestler, which, again, it's not an American wrestler, it's not an Iranian, it's not a Japanese, but he's an Olympic caliber wrestler. Keep your eye on him. Super tough guy. Kai Kara France, who was on Ultimate Fighter a few years ago, he's got a fight, should be fun. When I was flipping through here, one of the ones that stuck out to me is this dude, Kadis Ibragimov, I think. I'm sure I butchered that. He is 8-0. He's fighting a dude named Jamal Hill from the U.S. who's 3-0. They're sending a kid that's 3-0 from the U.S. all the way over to China to fight an undefeated Russian dude who's probably only doing like a 3-hour drive over there. So that just jumped out at me. It's like first fight of the night type thing. I was looking at the records. I'm like, what in the hell are they doing to this poor kid? Like, hey man, you're called up to the UFC. Sweet, where am I going? Beijing.
Yes.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Can you be ready?
Hey, last time we saw a guy on 2-week notice, he performed well.
Yeah, maybe I'm going to keep my eye on that one.
Yeah, I definitely will too.
The starting times for this card, by the way, prelim start at 2 a.m. Main card starts at 5 a.m.
Okay,
ESPN Plus.
Early morning, late night. What are you choosing?
If I had to choose, it'd be late night.
Late night.
You know.
It's going to be tough. Usually whenever they put one of these cards, in another country, and a lot of the fighters are from that area, they usually bring it. They are usually a great night of fights. So great night of fights, great morning of fights, either way that you want to put it. I'll probably watch the card. I'm not going to watch it live, but
I'll probably catch the replay.
Yeah, definitely have to catch the replay. So, real quick, before we end up signing off, Nick Newell, guy you told us to look out for a while ago, wins a fight in Bellator. Kind of the thing that Nick Newell is most well known for is he's a fighter who only has one hand. Ends up winning, though, by submission. Are you surprised that he is able to compete at that level? I mean, a lot of people.
Decision?
He won by submission.
Okay. No, he fought Justin Gaethje. He went to the late second round with Justin Gaethje. When Gaethje was on his 19-0 run in World Series of Fighting. He is a very much a top level fighter. He trains at a top level facility. He's just got one arm.
Yeah. He's a big fighter.
I don't think it's so weird for Dana to say it's a liability since BJ Penn's on like a 6-fight losing streak.
Dude, BJ Penn is much more of a liability.
Yeah, I mean, he is.
The guy's a great fighter.
He has fought guys with a bigger liability, but at the same, the other side of the coin, I understand what he's saying. The guy's got one arm, so if somebody hits him with just a brutal head kick and something happens to him, then people, I agree with Dana. People will immediately be like, "Why in the F were you letting this guy fight?" He's a top level guy. Did you happen to see what submission he tapped against?
Arm triangle.
A freaking arm triangle.
Yeah.
He tapped. That's how powerful this kid is. I mean, he's basically missing one of the joints you need to fulcrum this. So imagine you just choked somebody with, your humerus. You just wrapped around somebody with your humerus and grabbed onto your bicep without using your elbow as an end stop.
Yeah.
And you're squeezing hard enough to tap somebody out with that.
No, he's absolutely awesome. Great story. I'm glad that he won. I mean, I think Dana needs to come to terms with it and just bring the guy in.
It's too late now. Bellator, this was like a tryout for them kind of thing. They've got to sign him. There's no way they don't sign him.
No, you cannot go without that. You've seen it in baseball. We've seen a pitcher in the MLB have great success, a long career with one arm. And we've also seen now a guy who got drafted into the NFL, played in the NFL with one hand. So, I mean, we've seen it in multiple sports. Yeah. It's time, if the guy is good enough, put him in.
Yeah.
Put him in.
There's no, there's no reason not to. It's a pro sport. They're big boys. They know what they're signing up for.
Absolutely.
If he gets hit with the head kick, he knows what he's signing up for.
Yes. Anything else before we wrap this show up?
We mentioned that we're in a dry spell. After this card, the next weekend is the big one in Abu Dhabi. You got Khabib and Poirier, Barboza Felder, Makachev versus David Ramos, and then Blades versus, I can't remember the dude's name, Shamil Abdurrahimov, I think.
Yeah.
I'm sure I butchered that too.
Oh, no, you definitely did. I just know him as Shamil.
We'll call him Shamil.
Shamil.
So we got, give it one more weekend, and then we're back to the big ones.
We're back on the home stretch. And on that note, for Drake, for Mr. Shackelford, Dippers, as always, stay saucy.